You think you're in a free market, but you're living in a ghost story. Every time you swipe your card, a silent machine is watching. Its name is Aladdin, a supercomputer monitoring over $21 trillion of the world's wealth, more than the entire US economy, and you've never seen its face. Stop looking at politicians. They are just actors. To find the real masters, follow the money. And all roads lead to one office in New York, managing a record $14 trillion in assets. They aren't just a business, they are a shadow government. They own the debt on your bank, the servers for your phone, and the power grid for the house you're sitting in right now. Different brands, same owner. They didn't have to win a war because they already own the system.
I've spent months digging through the data the media is too afraid to touch. This isn't just a monopoly, it is the end of choice. When one company manages the wealth of nations, who is left to say no?
I am the market eagle, and today we expose the company that owns the world. Case file 002, BlackRock.
Hidden from the world, visible to the eagle.
To understand this empire, we have to look at the man who built it from the ashes. Larry Fink wasn't always the king of Wall Street. In 1986, he was a trader at First Boston who made a $100 million mistake. He was fired, humiliated, and cast out. But Fink didn't break. He became obsessed with the one thing that beat him: risk. He didn't just want to manage money, he wanted to manage the future. In 1988, inside a cramped office, BlackRock was born. Their mission wasn't to pick the best stocks, it was to build a system that could predict the end of the world. While other banks were gambling, Fink was architecting. He realized that if you own the data, you own the players. He wasn't playing the game, he was building the board.
The year 2008 changed everything. While the global economy was burning, the US Treasury didn't call the FBI or the Fed. They called Larry Fink. Why? Because the government was blind. They had no idea how to fix the toxic housing mess. BlackRock was the only one with the code. That was the day the student became the master. The government didn't just bail out the banks, they hired BlackRock to run the cleanup.
Look at the S&P 500, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Coca-Cola. Now look at the list of owners. You will see Vanguard, State Street, and always BlackRock. They don't need to run the day-to-day operations, they just need to vote. With $14 trillion in voting power, when BlackRock speaks, the world's boardrooms go silent. You've been told that index funds are the safest way for a regular person to invest. It sounds like a dream, but it's a trap. By controlling the index, BlackRock has created a perpetual motion machine of power. Your savings are being funneled into their system to buy more influence for them, while you settle for the crumbs. It is the greatest redistribution of influence in human history. Deep in the heart of global data centers, thousands of monitors are humming. This is Aladdin, the brain of the global economy. It isn't just a program, it is the nervous system of modern finance. It monitors the risk for over $21 trillion of the world's wealth. It sees every trade, every move, and every secret before it even happens.
Aladdin doesn't sleep. It doesn't have emotions. It just calculates. It tracks over 30,000 portfolios for central banks, pension funds, and insurance companies. When the market moves, it's because Aladdin saw a shadow 10 seconds before the rest of the world. We are no longer trading against humans. We are trading against a godlike AI.
How does a private company become so untouchable? Simple. They built a bridge to the White House. Look at the names. Former BlackRock executives now run the Treasury Department and the National Economic Council. It's a revolving door of power. The line between the US government and BlackRock doesn't just blur, it disappears. They use a term called ESG, environmental, social, and governance. It sounds noble, but in reality, it is a weapon. If a company doesn't follow BlackRock's agenda, they lose their funding. They don't need a law to change society. They just need to cut off the money. This is how you govern the world with ever being elected.
Finally, look at your own street. Why are houses so expensive? While others buy individual homes, BlackRock focuses on the debt and the infrastructure. They provide the capital for the giants that outbid young families. They aren't just buying stocks anymore. They are buying the very land you stand on. They are turning the American dream into a permanent rental. You aren't a citizen to them. You are a revenue stream.
Data is the new oil, but Larry Fink didn't just drill for it, he built the refinery. Aladdin doesn't just track stocks, it tracks geopolitical stability, weather patterns, and social sentiment across every continent. It knows a riot is coming before the police do. It knows a crop will fail before the farmer. When you have the data of a god, you start to act like one.
In Washington, they call it the fourth branch of government. It's not in the Constitution, and you didn't vote for it. When the Federal Reserve needs to stabilize the market, they don't look to Congress. They look to BlackRock's Financial Markets Advisory. They have become the janitor of capitalism, cleaning up the messes that would destroy anyone else for a price. You'll often see the name Vanguard right next to BlackRock. To the public, they are rivals. But look closer at the ownership structure. They are the top shareholders in each other. It's a circular shield of power that protects the top 0.1% from any real competition. It isn't a market anymore. It's a closed loop.
Every year, Larry Fink writes a letter to the world's CEOs. It isn't a suggestion, it's a mandate. He tells them how to run their diversity programs, how to handle climate change, and how to structure their boards. If a CEO ignores the letter, Aladdin triggers a sell-off. One letter can change the fate of a Fortune 500 company overnight.
This is a coup that didn't need tanks or soldiers. It was done with spreadsheets and algorithms. By managing the pension funds of teachers, firefighters, and police officers, BlackRock has taken the people's own money and used it to buy the strings that control their lives. You are paying for your own subjection.
It doesn't stop at the US border. From the lithium mines in Africa to the tech hubs in Tokyo, BlackRock's footprint is everywhere. They are one of the largest foreign investors in China. They play both sides of the board. While countries fight wars over borders, BlackRock simply owns the debt on both sides.
Most people fear a market crash. BlackRock welcomes it. Why? Because when blood is in the streets, Aladdin identifies the survivors. They have what they call dry powder, billions in cash, ready to buy up distressed assets for pennies on the dollar. They don't just survive a crisis, they harvest it.
You've heard the phrase, the Great Reset. Most people think it's a conspiracy theory. But when you look at BlackRock's move towards total portfolio landscaping, you see the blueprint. They are moving the world away from stakeholder ownership and towards access ownership. You will own nothing, and they will collect the rent.
BlackRock is the largest investor in fossil fuels and simultaneously the largest advocate for green energy. They are confused. They are controlling the transition. By owning the old energy and the new energy, they ensure that no matter how the world turns, they are the ones who keep the lights on.
What happens when an AI makes a mistake? With Aladdin, a glitch isn't just a technical error, it's a global catastrophe. If the algorithm decides a sector is high risk, trillions of dollars vanish in seconds. We have handed the steering wheel of civilization to a black box that nobody, not even the programmers, fully understands. They know more about your spending habits than your own bank. Through their massive stakes in fintech and credit giants, BlackRock sees the micro movements of the masses. They don't need to listen to your phone calls. They just need to see your receipts. To Aladdin, you are just a data point in a $14 trillion calculation.
BlackRock isn't a bank, so they aren't regulated like one. They don't have the same stress tests or capital requirements as JP Morgan or Citi. They operate in the shadow banking sector where the sun doesn't shine and the rules are written in pencil. They have all the power of a bank with none of the responsibility.
Ever wonder why the news all sounds the same? Look at the shareholders of the major media conglomerates. BlackRock is there. They don't need to write the scripts, they just need to ensure the financial health of the network depends on the right narrative. Silence isn't golden, it's profitable.
In the last decade, BlackRock has spent tens of millions on lobbying in DC and Brussels. They have more former government officials on their payroll than most law firms. They don't lobby for laws, they lobby for exemptions. They make sure the net is built to catch the small fish while they swim right through. We are approaching a threshold, a point where the company becomes larger than the country. When a private entity manages more wealth than the GDP of every nation except the US and China, who is really in charge? We are witnessing the birth of a new type of empire, one without a flag, but with total control. While the world was arguing about ESG, BlackRock was quietly moving the goalposts. They stopped talking about social values and started talking about physical reality. They realized the future isn't digital, it's mechanical. By acquiring global infrastructure partners, they are buying the power grids, the pipelines, and the bridges.
They aren't just an asset manager anymore. They are becoming the world's landlord. Larry Fink's newest mandate laid out the plan. Governments are broke, deficits are at a breaking point. But the world needs $68 trillion in new infrastructure by 2040. Who has that money? Not the taxpayers, only the private markets. BlackRock is positioning itself to be the only engine left to fund the very survival of civilization at a steep interest rate.
A single AI data center can cost $50 billion. Even Silicon Valley giants can't fund that alone. They are turning to BlackRock. Through their massive capital pools, BlackRock is building the physical backbone of the AI revolution. If Aladdin is the brain, BlackRock is building the nervous system that powers every bot on Earth.
Imagine a world where your house, your car, and even your future earnings are just tokens on a ledger. This is BlackRock's 2026 vision. By tokenizing real-world assets, they are creating a world where every single atom of value can be traded, tracked, and taxed by their algorithms. Total liquidity for total control. They spent years calling Bitcoin a money laundering tool. Then they launched the iBit ETF, which hit $100 billion in record time. Why the change? Because they realized Bitcoin is the ultimate escape hatch, and they wanted to own the door. By absorbing the world's digital gold, they ensure that even if the dollar collapses, they still hold the keys.
In 2025, Larry Fink was named interim co-chair of the World Economic Forum. The man in black is no longer just attending Davos, he is running it. This is the ultimate convergence, the world's largest pool of money meeting the world's most powerful politicians to decide your future, behind closed doors.
They tell you the market is competitive. But how can a startup compete when BlackRock owns the data center they use, the bank they borrow from, and the competitors they are fighting? It is a gilded cage. You can build a business, but you are always building it on their land.
BlackRock is now a major holder of sovereign debt for nations across the globe. When a country can't pay its bills, they don't call the IMF anymore. They negotiate with BlackRock. In the 21st century, you don't need to colonize a country with an army. You just need to own their debt.
Through their ESG voting blocks, they've already shown they can force corporations to change their behavior. How long until that same pressure is applied to you? With CBDCs and tokenization coming online, the distance between a corporate mandate and a personal restriction is zero.
In the BlackRock era, you aren't a citizen with rights. You are a user in a managed ecosystem. Your vote at the ballot box is becoming symbolic because the real decisions, the ones that move trillions, are made by an algorithm that doesn't care about your politics.
Aladdin is now being used by almost every major financial institution on Earth. This creates a terrifying monoculture of risk. If every computer is looking at the world through the same lens, they all see the same exit at the same time. The machine isn't preventing the crash, it is staging it.
We are moving toward a subscription society. You won't own your home, you'll rent it from a BlackRock-backed conglomerate. You won't own your software, you'll subscribe to it. This is the access economy, where you pay forever for things your parents owned for free.
We have come full circle. Centuries ago, peasants worked land owned by lords. Today, we work jobs in companies owned by BlackRock to pay rent on houses backed by BlackRock debt. The technology has changed, but the power structure is identical.
If a politician fails, you vote them out. If a bank fails, it gets regulated. But BlackRock has no voters and no regulators that can touch their shadow banking status. They are too big to fail, too big to regulate, and too big to ignore. They are the first truly global private superpower.
People are starting to wake up. From pension funds in the US to protesters in Europe, the pushback is beginning. They are being accused of human rights abuses and destroying the middle class. The giant is finally visible, and it is angry.
What happens when Aladdin predicts its own downfall? Does it adjust? Does it sabotage? We are entering a phase where the AI survival is linked to the company's survival. It is no longer just an investment tool. It is a defense system for $14 trillion.
I've shown you the ledger. I've shown you the master. The question isn't who is BlackRock. The question is who are we in their world? If we don't understand the system, we are just part of the calculation.
There is still a window, a moment where transparency can act as a disinfectant. But that window is closing as the tokenization of the world accelerates. You have to decide now, do you want to be a stakeholder in your own life or a data point in theirs?
This was Case File 002. We've pulled back the curtain on the shadow that covers the globe. But remember, once you see the eagle, it never stops watching you. I am the Market Eagle. The data is clear, the masters are revealed, and the world is never what it seems. Subscribe to stay ahead of the curve, because in the world of shadows, knowledge is the only light.
Subscribe and join the flight. Market Eagle.